Today I have for you guys a really fun video that I have not done yet for my channel. I have a full bag of Dollar Tree items that we are going to DIY together for Halloween. I am so excited about this. I have so many ideas for things I want to create with everything. So let's waste no time. I am going to go through each DIY with you step by step. Let's do it. All right, DIY number one, and this one's going to be a fairly easy one. You're only going to need a couple items. We're, number one, going to need this spider candy holder. We're also going to need this purple basket. We're going to need this E6000 glue, some gloves, and last item on our list here is this can of spray paint called Canyon Black, and it's a flat black spray paint that we're actually going to be using for multiple DIYs. And if you guessed it, yes, we are making a spider bowl on a budget here. This is very trendy right now in stores, and I mean, for $2, we can make our own. So first things first, I'm just kind of sizing up where that purple basket is going to fit onto the black spider, because we're going to take that E6000 and everywhere that basket touches on the spider, we are going to put some of that glue, so that way every point that has contact is going to be glued down. And ever so gently, I'm just kind of giving it a light push down so that way it kind of sticks. And then I'm making sure I go in with a napkin and wiping up any of the excess of that glue that may have slipped down. Now that that glue's on, we gotta set her aside for at minimum 30 minutes before we move on to the next step, which is paint. So this is where that spray paint comes in, and I'm just starting to spray paint the entire thing in this black spray paint. I'm making sure I go over the spider as well because I want it to have this flat finish. The spider before is a little bit glossy, it's got different colors on there, and I just want everything to be a very nice solid black. So I'm going through giving it 2 full coats, letting it dry in between each time, and making sure I also hit the bottom because we don't want any of that purple showing through. And then that is it. The easiest DIY for a spider bowl candy basket. And like I mentioned, you can either put candy in there, or I realized it made a really great chip basket. And just look at how cool that looks. For $2, who needs Target? Who needs Pottery Barn? I think this is a great little piece on your table to make it very Halloween-y and spooky for a party or whatever you want to do. Moving on now to DIY number 2, you're only going to need a couple of items for this one. We're going to need this 4-piece set of these mini cauldrons. These were plain black that just said Happy Halloween on them. And then we're going to need some cutters and this wire. This is actually some electrical wire that my husband had in the garage. I mean, I figured why not save my money, use this instead of going out and buying some of that craft wire. So, I mean, anything can work because you just need something that's a little bit more moldable. But yet also has a little bit of a stiffness because we want it to keep its shape. Because we are creating some little handles for these cauldrons to give them a little extra effect. So I just basically measured out the size I wanted my handle to be, and I am measuring up 4 pieces, all the same size, cutting them out so that way everything stays very cohesive. Once I got all 4 cut out, I am just going to be taking this wire, placing it through each side of the handle, and kind of sizing it to where I feel like the handle should roughly sit. This might be a little bit of a personal preference, but I kind of wanted the handle to stick up a little bit so that way you can see the handle. So I'm just roughly placing it where I feel like it looks good. And then basically I'm just taking that wire and wrapping it around the outside of the wire just so it kind of folds over. And taking the cutters, clipping off a little bit of that excess on one side of the wire because I noticed it was a little bit longer than the other side. That way we got an even wrap as we twist around that excess of the cauldron. And then there you go. It's a very easy little handle to create. It's just a little loop around there. It just takes a little bit of work trying to mold it around the cauldron. And then of course here comes the fun part. You got to repeat that process 3 more times. The good news at least is that each time you do it, you get a little bit more effective and a little bit faster. The first one took me honestly like 10 minutes to try to create, whereas the other ones I kept speeding up with each one. And then by the end of it, you're gonna have 4 adorable mini cauldrons with some handles. which are now going to be ready to move on to the next stage, which is paint. And I'm adding in some rocks because I'm painting outside and it was a little bit windy today, and these guys were already flying over, and once I started painting, I did not want them to fly away and get all dirty on the ground, so that's there to help stabilize. And again, I'm going to be using the same spray paint as I did with the spider in the previous DIY, the Canyon Black spray paint, and I'm just making sure I'm going over all of the cauldron, the handle, everything. I do not want to keep that Happy Halloween sign. I just want them to have that very nice flat black finish, so that way they just look like a regular cauldron. And I'm making sure I fully coat them up with 2 separate coats, letting them dry, of course, in between each coat. And then there you have it, 4 of the most adorable mini cauldrons. These are going to make the perfect accent piece for your dining table or wherever you want to style them. I'm styling them 2 different ways for you guys. I got this LED little candle that I'm sticking inside 2 of them. I'm making sure that I'm not putting a real candle in there since they are plastic. And then the other 2 I'm styling with just a little bit of candy, just to show you guys 2 different options for the uses of these mini cauldrons. And I'm personally going to be styling them on my table here, and I think it just adds the perfect little accent piece to the table. It gives, again, another little spooky effect in addition to your spider chip bowl. Now let's roll into DIY number 3, and the first thing that you're going to need is one of these plastic skulls. And I decided to go for a bunch of different flower options. You won't need all of these, but I wasn't quite sure the style I wanted to go with, so I ended up grabbing these 4 bundles, so that way when it came time to styling, I had a lot of different options. So putting that aside, we are now going to begin with first taking off that really pesky sticker that's stuck at the bottom. That one's actually very difficult to get off. It was really stuck on there, but eventually I got her off. Then we're going to need to grab a box cutter, and basically you're just going to remove part of the skull here. And I kind of made one incision point and then started to score around where the rest of the hole was going to go. I wanted it kind of like towards the top of the head, and I didn't really have any real measurement for where I wanted this hole to go. I just know I wanted to create like a flower crown look, because I think I forgot to mention this in the beginning, that this is going to be a skull flower vase. Definitely should have mentioned that beforehand. But it was actually super easy to cut into the skull in order to get the shape out. The plastic is actually very soft. And this color is just not it, so we are going to be changing it. I am going in with a spray paint called Smoky Beige. It's in a satin, which actually the black spray paint I was using beforehand, it's also a satin. I kept calling it flat, but I mean, they basically look flat. This is going to make it such a beautiful cream color to this skull, which is exactly what I want a natural kind of skull to look like. This other one's just a little bit too yellow for me. And as per usual, when it comes to spray painting, I always make sure I give it at least 2 coats of paint. Then once she is all good and dry, she's going to look something like this, way better than the original paint color. And I wanted to go that extra mile with it, so I'm taking a bit of this painter's gold paintbrush, and I'm just filling in all of the cracks that you see on the skull. I feel like adding this extra little step just helps to make the skull look a lot more glam, a lot more stylish, so that way you can style it potentially throughout the year. You don't need to take it away for Halloween. It looks neutral, but yet still very chic. And when it came time to painting the teeth here, I decided to go just along the outline of the gums. I didn't go all the way through the teeth. I didn't want to have them that highlighted. And then I just finished off with all of the little lines, and then ta-da, that's it. And then now we are finally moving over to the flower section, and I wasn't quite sure which ones I wanted to use, so I just started by cutting off at least 4 from each bundle. That way I had the options to kind of style and see the way I liked it. Because the best way to do this is just to kind of start shoving in some flowers and then seeing how you like it. Because I mean, everything looks a little bit different once you start to style it, see how it lays. And I actually ended up deciding that the purple and the black flowers were the way in which I wanted to go. So I just decided to kind of squish them all together and make it look like a little crown. And look how cute that turned out. And now that the hard part is done creating this skull vase, you can easily interchange the flowers every season and just have a stylish vase throughout the year. DIY number 4 now, and yep, we are going to need another bundle of flowers. Again, I wasn't sure which ones I was going to go with, so I had all the bundles. We're also going to need some eyeballs. and a pack of mini skulls. Now everything is from the Dollar Tree except from this bag right here. This one is from Michael's. It was $4.99, but everything is 40% off Halloween, so I think it ended up being like just $2.99. So still very affordable. And what we're going to be doing for this DIY is very simple. We are going to be creating some super cute skull flowers and eyeball flowers. I saw the inspiration inside of Target, of course, that's where I get all my inspo. So I wanted to create my own because they had them for a crazy price. It was like $20 for 3 flowers in a vase, and here I can make an entire vase for just like $2. So here I am just kind of test fitting the skulls and the eyeballs into the flowers, deciding which one I want to go with. And I ended up landing on these white chrysanthemums for the eyeballs. So I'm just cutting off 3 stems from this bundle. And once we chop those off, we actually still have 2 left over on the branch, so we can use that for another craft another day. So first things first, we got to remove the sticker that's attached to one of these flowers, and then now we get into it. And I'm just kind of going to start to peel back all of the flowers to expose the center of that stem or the flower, so that way we have a good access point to be gluing down the eyeball, because we want to place it right in the center. I want to place it as close to that base as possible. That way it gets a really good hold and the flower can kind of fluff up around it. And it's super easy. You just take that E6000, put a little glue, hold it down for a little bit so that way it gets nice and tacky as you're putting it on the flower. This E6000, it doesn't dry right away, so you do have to hold it for a little while. But once it stays, it stays. And then you're left with a super fun bundle of eyeball flowers. No clue what I'm naming this or what this should be called, but now we just gotta repeat that same exact process, except from now with these little skulls. And it's gonna be the same kind of process. This was a little bit trickier. I maybe should have done the skulls with the white flowers. These roses are a little bit smaller and the skulls are a little bit larger than the eyeballs, I feel. So this was a little bit tricky trying to actually fit the skulls in there in order to get a good press on there with the glue and everything. So I did find that I had to hold this one a little bit longer because it did want to keep pushing out with the flowers against the head. So this one was a little bit more finicky, but after all, I was able to make it work. And then this was the final result. We had 3 individual flowers with these eyeballs and skulls, and I think it just looks so freaking cool. But now let's arrange them, and I'm using these 2 vases that I did find at Michael's. One was $2.99, the other one I think was like $4.79, so not a bad price for the vases. I just love the way that it looked kind of like a potion, so it kind of looked like you had created these out of these test tubes. So the way I'm just getting them to stick in there is I did shove a piece of napkin in there to kind of help to elevate the flowers. Since they were all the same size, it was kind of hard for them to stick on their own, so I just put something in there to help kind of prop them up. And then I'm angling the flower so that way it's facing towards you the way you're looking at it, so it's not sticking directly up. So it just looks like it's looking right at you, and I mean, super easy, and it gives such a cool effect. And I decided to just keep the styling on going on my dining table, putting them next to the cauldron and this spider rub candy bowl. And I'm just loving the way that this table is turning out. It's looking so spooky and so festive. Now on to our 5th and final DIY. We are going to need 2 of these packs of chains. In addition, we're also going to need 2 packs of these mini buckets that are mini skulls. They come with this mini handle on top, and it is going to be perfect for this DIY because we are creating a spooky garland. So let me go ahead and walk you through this process here. So first things first, we're starting with this chain, and there's these annoying little bits that are kind of sticking up on the plastic. It's probably just from the mold that they had for creating these chains. So I'm just going ahead and snipping off all of those ends that I find with my little cutters. Once that's done, we are going to take our handy dandy spray paint here, the smoky beige in satin, and we are going to spray paint our skulls. Now you can do the chain as well if you want the super neutral aesthetic. I actually ended up liking the way that the chains looked with the color that they already had on them, so I'm just going ahead and only going to be spray painting these skull buckets. because they just felt a little bit too white for me. I wanted them that softer kind of cream colored look for this garland. And then once they are completed, oh my goodness, I love the way that this looks. I mean, this may be my new favorite spray paint color, honestly. And then super simple, since we didn't do anything to the chain, so we're just gonna grab those along with these command hooks, these clear mini ones, some fishing line that I already had from another DIY project. And we are just going to take 3 pieces of this fishing line. We don't need a lot of it. We just need a little piece to be able to attach the end of the chain to that command hook on my mantle. I'm applying it in 3 different sections of the mantle so that way it has a little bit of a draping look. Going through and snipping off the excess of that fishing line, and by the way I attached the chain in the middle there was through that slit. You can just squeeze through the 2 links and then there you go, you have a longer chain. And then now for these mini skull buckets, I'm doing the same thing. I'm inserting the mini bucket through that little slit that we see there. Super easy method to attach these little buckets, and then I'm just going through and I'm adding all of the rest of the skulls that I have left over. I had a grand total of 8, so I'm just putting 4 on one half of the chain, 4 on the other half, and bada bing, bada boom, that's it. Super easy and just looks so fun. And now you can definitely stop here with just the Dollar Tree items, but I kind of wanted to add a little bit more pizzazz. So I did get these from Michael's. It's little ghost LED lights. They were $7.99, but again, 40% off, so I think they ended up being like $3.99. There were some at the Dollar Tree that looked exactly like this, but they are a little bit shorter. I think the lighted length was only like 2 feet, so it kind of worked out better to get the ones from Michael's because it was just one single strand and you got 7 feet of total lights. So just added those through the already attached command hooks, and again, you can totally stop there, but I decided to take it one more step further, and I had this kind of like mesh cloth thing that I got last year from Walmart, I believe it was. So I just decided to drape this over the mantle. It's going to help to hide all the wires, the command hooks, and the little box for the lights. So again, just adds an extra little level. And then of course I felt like the top was missing something, so I had this thing from last year again. This was an LED drape garland. This was the Hide and Eek brand from Target. So I just added it in at the top on the mantle, that way it had a little extra texture up there. And then now I swear that's the last thing that I'm adding, and this DIY garland is done. You can definitely leave it with just that first chain and skull buckets. I think it looks very cute, very spooky, but if you want to take it that extra step further, I think this looks also really good. And then there you have it. That is going to be it for all of my spooky Halloween Dollar Tree DIYs. I really hope that you guys enjoyed these. If you did, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that little bell button. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.